Okay, since it wasn't particularly clear in my last video about using the database, I thought that I'd do this additional video doing an on-screen capture, and it will show you maybe a bit more clearly how to use this database and sending out dried blood spot cards. So let me log in here. So I should say that this database can run on a network drive well. Just remember that it probably won't support multiple users, so one person should be scanning in barcodes, not multiple people using the same database across the network. Access doesn't really support that very well. So when you're sending in kits, the procedure would be like to click on enter a new shipment, and you can see that it unlocks these three fields: the letter barcode, the specimen barcode, and the study ID. The letter barcode is found on the cover letter, and then the specimen barcode and the study ID are found on the dried blood spot cards. So I've got a bunch of cover letters and dried blood spot cards here. So I'm just going to go through the procedure of scanning these in just so you can see what happens on screen. So let me start off with the COVID study ID, and then over to the specimen barcode that's on the blood spot card, and then the study ID again, and then the next participant. Okay, so you can see I can clip through these fairly quickly, and while it's going quickly is the fact that I've configured the barcode scanner to enter a tab after every time it scans barcode, so it advances you through those fields without having to hit arrow buttons or enters or tabs or whatever. Scan a barcode and you're on to the next field without any intervention. So this shows you what's going on screen. Now it's wise to scan these barcodes, then assemble the kit together, just so that you don't get mixed up between one kit and the next kit. So scan the barcodes, put everything together in the envelope, and then start scanning the next barcode and kit to put everything in place. So let's see, what other things can you do here? Okay, so that's the not too terribly exciting procedure for scanning the barcodes in for each kit, but let me show you a little bit more about what user validation is happening here. So the appropriate format for COVID study ID is checked by the database. So let me do some unacceptable formats, and we will see what happens. Okay, so you'll receive an error that the COVID study ID is invalid. So click on OK, and then what it's looking for is the COVID study ID, at least for Manitoba, should be CSE, and let's make this our ID. We can tab through it here, and then it will start complaining about the specimen study ID, which needs to start with a DB and followed by 7 letters. And then finally it would say, well, this last COVID study ID is invalid as well. It's not the right format. This is tab out. This is another validation in the fact that the letter COVID study ID needs to match the study ID on the dried blood spot card, just to make sure you're sending the right card to the right participant, and so that can cause an error as well. So we can modify this like so, and then as soon as we tab out, it's suddenly an acceptable. So it checks all those database formats, which is great. And then say you wanted to update a date sent. So you notice over here that the date sent is a locked field. It's not updated. When you close the form, the database will take the system date and update that way. We found, well, that's in a more accurate method, so you don't have to enter dates all the time for each kit that you're sending out. And just as soon as you close the form, then it will be updated with the current date. But say I did want to come back and and later update a date sent. Maybe you prepared the kits but didn't mail them for a week or something like that. So you'd click on unlock fields like so, and then you can update any of these dates to be one that was more accurate for the mail out, like so. And then go ahead and lock the fields again, and that means that you can't really modify any of these fields now because they're all locked. Cool. And I'd encourage you can click over on any of these spreadsheet buttons. So click that, it will execute a query, and then the query will be populated into Microsoft Excel. So it will tell you information about how many kits have been sent out by a particular date. And then also this shipping table is important. That's the one that you'll use for comparing the kits that you've sent out versus the ones that have been received at the U of T to tell you what your response rate is currently like. And then if you discover any information that looks kind of weird or wacky with the barcodes, you can open up the audit table to see what changes have been made to this database table and maybe help you go into the past and figure out anything that might be unusual. Cool. So it's a fairly simple database. It works well for the purpose that we're putting it to, does some user validation, and make sure that we're walking a nice line and keeping our data clean. So if you have any questions about using this thing, and just feel free to send me an email or give me a call, and we'll figure out what's going on. But so far it's worked well for all the cohorts, and we look forward to Manitoba using it as happily as everyone else. So take care, and over and out on this video.